Brian, what a week.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? It just was pretty crazy. We knew that there was going to be some possible geopolitical event that was going to happen this week, and I think a lot of people were surprised by Putin invading. I think some people were thinking it was just posturing. He was trying to negotiate something without actually doing it. But he was pretty serious. I mean, I watched a thing with Condoleezza Rice, and she's had some experience, obviously lots of experience in the geopolitical realm, and knew Putin. And she said when in the interview early in the week that she didn't think he was going to invade. So, yeah, it took a few people by surprise. So
yeah, it definitely took Andrew by surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, the U.S. intelligence was right all along, right? Because they've been talking about, hey, they've already made their decision and they're gonna do it in a few days. They were right on spot even on the day.
Yeah, he did. He waited till the Olympics were over. So
that was insane. Yeah, it's a lot of volatility. You said something in the chat that I want to kind of start with that. Yesterday, like Thursday, which was a crazy rally day, right after the attack.
Yeah.
You said it really reminded you of the 1990s, that those kind of bull run in a bear market.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit? Because I wasn't trading around then. I would love to know your experience.
Yeah. Well, I think it's sort of generally known that when you get into a bear market, you can get these sort of rip your face off rallies in the midst of a bull market, and some of it is bargain hunting, obviously, and then a little bit of bargain hunting where people are trying to pick the bottom. Begat sort of the short covering, and then you get these, a lot of people that have positioned themselves short start to cover, and then you get this ripping rally that can happen. But then that kind of peters out, and then you resume the overall trend, which is lower. So yeah, it was a pretty amazing rally, and continued today, which I was expecting it to yesterday. When we had the big down day, I said in the room at the open, I said I would not be surprised if we were green at the end of the day, and we were up we went from minus 800 to so
it's so funny. They say S&P is expected to give 8% return for the year. It just moved 6% in one day.
No kidding.
The whole index moved. It was insane. One of our developers, we were talking about trading and stuff. He put a limit order, and he's not a trader. He's more of an investor. He put a limit order for TQQ at $43. Because we gapped down, it got filled at $41.
Oh yeah.
Now he's already up 20% on a trade.
Wow, that's
in
great.
one day.
That's
nice. Perks of working for us. So if you're a programmer, you should apply.
Exactly, yeah. But that just set up. I was waiting for that. I think on Wednesday night I said we were going to have we were probably going to have a big gap down, and I was in cash, and I was just saying just wait for this big red open, and that's probably a buyable bottom, and it turned out to be exactly that. My biggest regret this week is I didn't YOLO any trade. I just, I got into a few stocks when we started to come up, and I kind of rode them back up, but I guess it's easy to say in retrospect I should have gone all in, but
I guess you did the right thing, right? You manage your risk.
Yeah,
we're still in a war zone.
You just never knew what was going to happen. Yeah. But once he invaded, I think the kind of okay, everyone was on edge, wondering. Market doesn't like uncertainty. We didn't like the outcome that we had, but now there was certainty. He's invading, and that's that's the downside of the whole thing. But
did you short Russia's index?
There was one stock that I played called Yandex, and it's kind of I think it's like the Google of Russia, but it's also the Google of some other countries that Russian speaking.
Right.
And it really got hammered.
Did you buy it on the way up, or?
Yeah, and so yesterday it just got so hammered, and I was looking at it, I'm thinking this is an overreaction, because some of their because people in Russia are still going to Google stuff.
Yeah.
And the surrounding countries, and it just seemed to be like a real overreaction. So that was one of my best trades. I actually took it long, and got like I think I got like a $6, $7 move on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I had some yesterday, sold some at the close, and I held some overnight, and it was up another $6 in the morning. So
it was really interesting because Russia also, like, they were down a lot, but then the day on Wednesday, I think it was, that a SPY rallied, Russia's index also rallied. My best trade this week was shorting EURUS, Russia's ETF.
Oh, okay, yeah. That would have been a good one too, for sure.
So what I did is I ran a relative trade. So I was long SPY, short Russia. So I was saying, hey, if something happens and both of them sell off, I'm betting that Russia will sell off more than SPY.
Sells off more,
Yeah. So it worked out great, but
smart.
10 years of gain was wiped out in Russia.
Yeah.
Just because of one decision. This is like, let's go to weeklies. Like, how crazy that is, that like 10 years, even more than the pandemic, right around pandemic. Wow.
Pandemic low.
Definitely insane.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. Sanctions, I'm a little bit concerned over the weekend here. We're going to see some cyber attacks, possibly.
NVIDIA just got attacked.
Yeah, NVIDIA already suffered that. So, certainly it doesn't seem like Putin's shy about doing anything. So
for sure. Maybe some trade ideas for next week. Maybe some longs in net, Cloudflare. Wow. Maybe.
Well, I was looking at Bug. Bug is the ETF for the cybersecurity, and it was up like 20 cents today. Zscaler really took a hit today too after their earnings. So it's not. I haven't looked at Bug, so I don't know what the daily chart looks like on it.
Let's see.
Certainly, some things that caught my interest today were things like anything to do with metals, particularly with what Russia is known for, like their big aluminum smelter source country, and iron. Iron was on a big run today. People in the room were pointing out X, so I took a little X long, and so it seems like and we were just generally looking at the materials sector today. XLB is the symbol there, and it was the strongest.
Up 3. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a material up 3.6%.
No.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
wow.
so it was. It was definitely in focus today with sanctions and and commodities too, right? I mean, Russia and Ukraine are big sources of wheat. Yeah. Wheat and other agricultural commodities. So there's that could when you get into a war, some of the obviously the things that are going into production, are being produced there. Obviously, nobody's going to reluctant to go to work, that kind of stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Nobody's going to be working. So, war is terrible for a country's economy.
Yeah. Thor talks about it a lot, and he's very reluctant of saying it, but it also creates really great opportunities if you're a trader. Yep. It's
totally, yes.
Yeah.
Well, as we saw today, playing overreactions to things, or playing predictable reactions to things too. Like you're short on the Russian market.
Yeah.
So
I did get a little lucky, I would say, because they attacked and then it dropped by another 20%. But still, I like to take credit a little bit.
Yeah, no, it was smart trades.
I told Andrew, I said, listen, my account is smaller, I can't take a huge size, but you should short them. And he said, no way Putin will do that. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll do it myself.
No, I'm annoyed. You didn't tell me.
Check. Brian has one issue. He doesn't check his phone a lot when you message him. He replies like 2 days later. That's a problem. I should call you, like your prime broker. Should I execute this trade for you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So sectors. I mean, today, of course, kind of predictable in a sense, like staples, utilities, healthcare. We're still kind of defensive, I would say.
Yeah.
Consumer discretionary was up, but overall on the week, I think they're having a really rough time. Let's see.
Yeah, the discretionaries were, stocks like Starbucks and stuff that people consider to be, where people can cut back when they've, when their budgets are tight or whatever. Those are the ones that are getting.
Those are the ones that goes, yeah. On a week, financial is still red. Staple barely almost flat, and then healthcare, real estate, and utilities. These guys did really well. We finished the month of February, basically, pretty much. Not bad. Anything beside, like Qs were almost flat, SPY up 75 basis point, IWM surprisingly did really well.
Yeah, I noticed that even when I was going through the indexes last weekend, swing trade video. I just noticed that the IWM seemed to be holding up the best. And the only way I could explain that would be that, the IWM's made up a lot of smaller cap companies, and maybe they're more focused on, U.S. companies, and sort of not so dependent on sort of global performance, because, things could get, a little bit ugly with the way things are going in Europe now. So maybe it was a sort of a rotation of capital into some of the more U.S.-centric stocks.
Yeah. The divergence between IWM and like the other indexes is so high that, you wonder how much lower can this poor index go. But
that was the other thing too. Maybe it's more sold off than some of the other indexes. So maybe that was cause for some of the capital to go into that index, being the one that it was down the most. So,
So Dow down 6%, SPY 8%, IWM 10%, and Qs year to date almost down 14%. So it'll be interesting. We got a question from a member in our chat room, and I think it's kind of fair to try to answer it. He's like, okay, with these indexes being down, do you still see SPY finishing positive? What do you think, Brian? You think it's...
Man, are you finishing on the year positive?
On the year.
Man, it's really hard to say. There's, it's hard to predict where things are going to go next month, let alone this year. A lot of people, we've got the Russia-Ukraine crisis that came to the forefront, this week. But, sort of in the background, and it's not very far in the background, is, this Fed meeting that's coming up in March.
Yep.
And what is the Fed going to do? There's all sorts of opinions as to, how aggressive are they going to be, particularly in light of the things that just happened.
Yeah.
Are they still going to be that aggressive in terms of tapering the balance sheet and hiking, or are they going to be a little bit more accommodative, thinking that maybe things are? But some of the stuff that's going on is going to further fuel inflation. So the way I see it, and I again, I said this in my swing trade video, I kind of feel like the Fed's kind of really in a tough spot here.
Oh yeah.
So economy's kind of slowing down, inflation's picking up, not for for more supply chain reasons, and so it's not something you really, I don't envy Powell. As I said, I think I said to Andrew, I think he's probably regretting taking the job again.
Hey, he was a private equity guy making millions, levering it up and making millions. But I saw a really funny meme. It says Fed has two choices, like do 50 basis point, cause a recession, or do 25 basis point and lose credibility. It's a lose-lose situation for Fed.
I don't think they're going to get, I don't know, but I don't think they're going to get overly aggressive. But again, how we finish the year, circling back to that question, it's really going to depend on, I think it's going to depend on how fast these supply chain things get resolved, because the sooner we get out of this, and we seem to be moving out of the whole pandemic thing, maybe supply chains sort of get back to normal, maybe we get less pressure on inflation. And that would cause the Fed not to raise as much if they can see inflation coming back significantly. So it's, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's really just almost impossible to predict at this point.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah.
When you look at it historically, the return of a market on a historic average has been the earning growth plus the dividend yield. So as long as the companies could still provide positive earning growth, SPY should theoretically, on paper, academically, close the year positive. But that's a big but, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't know if they can, right? If there's so much supply chain disruption now with war, higher input costs, energy, oil crossing 100, and then selling off again, but still.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to watch. Very volatile. I mean.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's just volatility is still elevated, and it'll probably stay that way for, until, again, I think everybody's now. With the Ukraine war going on and sort of more certainty there, even though it's not great certainty, I think people are going to start turning back their attention to what's going to come from the Fed in this meeting. Yeah. So volatility is just going to stay in the markets.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Nasdaq volatility is at 31%, VIX is at 27. So these are really high. We got used to VIX below 20 for a really long time.
Yep.
And now it seems like VIX is always above 20, so it's going to be really interesting. So this tool that I'm using and drawing stuff is Trading Terminal. Still in beta mode, but lots of the stuff that you need as an active trader or investor or swing trader is here in this website. So Wix, skew, how are the sectors doing? So definitely check it out. We're adding like login, so you can save your information in there. So lots of new things are coming as well. The folks you see in the background are actually working on it. So definitely check that out. I know, Brian, you've switched to Trading Terminal.
I'm using it, and I'm anxiously awaiting the login and save feature because, I like to keep a whole bunch of charts and keep going through them, like when I do my swing trade videos bi-weekly. So, I like to have a database of charts that I regularly review. So that'll be a really nice feature for this.
No, folks are working. The time that they're not trading TQQ, they are working.
We got the bullwhips here somewhere. Right?
Adding features, I promised you that. Yeah, and definitely we'll put a link in the video if you want to subscribe to Brian's swing trading newsletter. He sends it out twice a week, absolutely free. Lots of trade ideas, what he sees in the market. So it's a gem and it doesn't cost anything. So if you're with us in YouTube, you could definitely check it out. We had lots of earnings too this week, and then next week we got some really interesting ones coming as well. But anything stood out for you in terms of earning? Did you play any stocks?
I did. I did have a few option trades. I don't recall if I don't think I traded any earnings on options. It's just been all over the place. Like I looked at Square, and Square was again. I think I don't know what the expected move was, but I'm thinking what.
I think it was like $15, I think, and it didn't do anything, and then all of a sudden it ripped. Yeah. So I got lucky on Square. I made money on Square, but then I gave it all back on Coin because Coin
did nothing.
Yeah, pretty much did nothing.
Yeah, so it's been a weird season. I mean, sometimes the options guys are getting it completely wrong.
Yeah.
Or they got and then with Coin you got nothing. So
nothing. Yeah.
Coin would have been a great trade to. Options trade to sell puts and calls. You would have collected premium on both sides.
Yeah, hefty premium too. Yeah.
And then with Square, you would have collected your premium on the put, but you might have got wiped out on the call side.
Exactly.
So with that big move. So other than that, I mean, there was good trading. Some of these stocks, like Foot Locker this morning, was a good short.
I wanted to say
so it's provided some good opening range breakdowns or breakouts, but I typically don't trade earnings through earnings that much.
But you do afters.
But I do like I said, Foot Locker was a nice trade today. I just did not. I got out of it way too early. I was really expecting it to squeeze back up, and I was going to reshort it, but that was the plan.
Yeah.
And the plan didn't work out, so.
How did it do? It was kind of an all-day sell, right, Foot Locker?
I think it was probably about a 1 hour sell, just straight selling, almost no pullbacks. I just kept looking at it and thinking, it's never going to bounce for me to get in. So
it's tough. Majority of the retailers are not doing good. I know Home Depot had a decent earning, but kind of sold off. Lowe's like went up a little bit, but not a lot. Foot Locker.
Lowe's, that's what, now you mentioned that. I did an earnings trade, an options trade I like to do. So when Lowe's opened up and then they went higher and they seemed to hit a top level, and then it started to sell off. I think it was around 220, 230. I can't remember specifically what it was, but it topped out around 230 and then it started to sell off. And I thought, and this was after they reported, and that's where I sold some calls.
It's so good because
Yeah.
the IV is still high, implied volatility is still high. You're collecting some juicy premium.
Yeah. And then it sets a level that you can sort of trade off of because it pops up and then it starts to sell off, and that you can say, you know, this is obviously where there's some significant resistance.
Yeah.
So yeah, that trade worked out really well. I went
That's
out.
awesome. So then you probably sold somewhere right around here. I think it seems like it. So that was their earning right here when it topped out.
What level is that? I can't.
228.
I can't. Like I said, I can't remember if it was It might have been the 230s I sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As
soon as it started to turn around, I thought, okay, I'm going to sell some calls here, and I'll just, if it sells off, I'll be happy. And it did.
Yeah, perfect.
And especially, you know, and of course the Russian invasion helped too. Of course, it really took the wind out of almost every stock. So
yeah. No, that's that little bit of element of luck is always necessary for.
And like you say, the nice thing is right after earnings is reported, implied volatility is still high on the options.
Yeah.
So you can still collect a lot of good premium until, you know, it starts to settle down.
Yeah. It's it's good. I ask you questions in the chat room all the time. I'm like, Brian, what's the YOLO play of the day?
Unfortunately, no, I don't do many YOLO trades. And but anyway, I mean, I can sleep at night too.
Next week we got some good ones too. I think Zoom will be interesting. Lucid, Cathy Wood, Lucid is going to be interesting. I think Salesforce, Target, another retailer.
Yeah.
If Foot Locker gap down, maybe Target will follow. Who knows? I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Foot Locker might have been specific to that retailer. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
I always thought Foot Locker is, they're competing with a lot of the other big box stores that are all sell the same brands, same products, Amazon. So I mean, where's their competitive advantage? I mean, it's hard to have that anyway, but
yeah. And then for a lot of brands, it makes sense. Like for Nike, it would make sense to do D2C, direct to consumer, rather than going through the retailer.
And they're doing that more and more.
Yeah.
And then and then Foot Locker can't sell metaverse apparel, and Nike can sell their.
They might file some trademark for metaverse and then pump their stock. Who knows, right?
Well, you can buy virtual Nikes already. Although when you go into a lot of these rooms, you don't have a lower body, but someday you will, I guess.
Do you read the comments of these after-hour traders? Do you spend the time? Because sometimes people, so you know how last week Andrew was saying, how are you going to verify the Nike? Somebody wrote a really long comment explaining that, no, it's actually legit. Kind of defending the NFT and the verification process. It's sometimes interesting, the comments when you read them.
Yeah. I don't read those, no, but I mean, this whole NFT thing, I have a sort of good, I would say good, I have a vague understanding of how everything's working, but I'm not completely bought into it yet.
Me neither. I mean, not until Jared buys into it. Like if he's our crypto guy and he's still skeptical, I don't want to touch it.
I'm not ready to buy virtual Nikes for my avatar in the metaverse. Yeah,
a friend of mine, he called me. Basically the housing prices have been going up so much in Vancouver, so he was able to refinance and basically make 100,000 in equities. And he's like, I want to start investing. What should I do? Just buy some indexes, maybe some Qs, some SPYs. He's like, but I was thinking about buying a land in metaverse. I'm like, That's
Wow.
please don't.
Yeah, really speculative. I mean, the people are doing it, and
People are doing it.
You know, and the whole principle of it is that, you know, some of this land, virtual land, is going to be valuable. It's going to be where a lot of people go. It's where there's going to be a lot of eyeballs. Advertisers are going to pay big money, and then there's going to be a lot of wasteland, right? You know, it's going to be like kind of buying, you know, 100 acres in Utah where there's just scrub brush, right?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Utah, like Utah, but
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of areas in North America that, you know, you can get some pretty cheap property, and you know, you go to New York downtown, you're paying big bucks, and that's kind of the similar in the metaverse. There's going to be, yeah, there's going to be land that's going to be probably very valuable, and lots that's not going to turn out.
The irony of it is he made his equity in a real land, and now I want to take that equity and put it in a meta land.
Yeah.
Like, don't do
Yeah.
it. Stick to what's worked
Yeah.
for you. Kind of switching to Twitter and on the same topic of the market. I don't know if you follow Andrew on Twitter, but Andrew got into a little bit of a back and forth with Pomp. You know Anthony Pompliano?
I don't know. No,
So Anthony Pompliano, he's one of the early investors and like in kind of Bitcoin. He's a pro Bitcoin, always talking about Bitcoin. So he said President Biden has announced that United States will limit Russia's ability to do business in U.S. dollars, as kind of, I guess, saying that, hey, Bitcoin would have been easier. And then
Right.
Andrew says only criminals love crypto. Transparency in financial market is healthy.
yeah.
Then Pomp says, tell me you know nothing about Bitcoin without telling me you know nothing about Bitcoin. And then Andrew goes, it is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding it. So I
that's
thought
good.
this back and forth.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and Pomp has like, I think 6 million followers. Like he's big in the crypto world. And he comes on CNBC a lot and talks pro. But
Yeah.
I think it was hilarious for Andrew to get in with him.
Yeah. Well, you know, I always, you know, a lot of these talking heads on TV and people in the media and stuff like that, I'm, you know, always skeptical when they're talking their book, right? I mean, and that's clearly what he's doing. He's got a vested interest in having people buy and, you know, stay invested in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So, you know, and that's, I kind of feel like in part that's kind of what's holding the price up. I mean, I still don't see any real inherent value in Bitcoin other than people value it and, you know, they want to hold it. Nothing wrong with that, but, you know, it's been trading like a risk asset, you know, really. It's been, when the market's going down, it's going down. It's not, you know, if you looked at gold really took off.
Yeah.
When even leading up to this invasion, gold's had a really nice run, and that's one of the things I've stayed in for a swing trade. I'm out of it now, but yeah. So
Yeah.
so it really isn't sort of a safety trade, at least at this point, anyway.
I think I would say personally, like the biggest loser, and this is an unpopular opinion, but I think the biggest loser this week, I would say, was Bitcoin, because you know everyone was saying, hey, this is a new payment processing system, and then it wasn't as easy. So then everyone said, hey, this is the new gold, but we realized that it doesn't even have a hedging mechanism because there's so much
Right.
leverage in there. It's, as you said, it's exactly a risk asset. So.
Yeah.
And then it's a non-yielding asset. It doesn't pay dividend. So if I buy Bitcoin, my only hope is that someone will buy it more expensive.
Yep.
So then you got to constantly create this herd mentality of, hey,
Yeah.
Bitcoin is the future, to not maybe fool, but to motivate the next person to pay a higher price for it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just you know, buy low, and hopefully you'll find someone who's willing to pay you more money than you bought it for. So
Yeah. I'm still not convinced why I should put like 5% of my net worth in Bitcoin. I don't see the diversification elements either. So
no.
yeah.
I mean, it's gonna, you know, it may take another run. I mean, you know, people have these ideas that, you know, it Bitcoin runs and then it consolidates for whatever it is, 2 or 3 years. I don't know what people are advocating or saying it is, but it's, you know, right now it's kind of hanging on, I think, and we'll see if it does eventually take another run. You know,
knows?
there was a whole lot of money being thrown at risky assets over the last, 2020, 21.
That's
and
true.
So we'll see if we ever get back into that scenario again.
Yeah, with these type of drawdowns, I don't see any serious
Yeah.
institutional money. This one was a funny one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
2020, 2021.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was global virus,
Yeah.
new global virus.
And yeah, exactly. And this one was hilarious too. My tax return after doing 28,000 trades to make a total of
Yeah.
1285. Yeah, it's been interesting. Any prediction for next week, going into next week?
Well,
I know you had predictions, but
yeah, I think again, I think a lot of it's going to depend on what kind of actions that come out of Russia. You know, if cyber attacks. As you said, NVIDIA already had experienced something, but you know, if they get more aggressive over the weekend, it could be a real negative for the market, depending on how serious they are. So, but the earnings keep coming in, and most of the companies are beating on earnings again. What's knocked a lot of them down is their forward-looking guidance. So, yeah, we've got more earnings coming up next week, but I think again we're kind of going to be a little bit more focused again with interest rates and where things are going to go. And I think people are just going to remain on edge until we get through that Fed meeting and we get some clarity. That may not take away the volatility, but it's kind of what people are looking for now.
yeah.
What about you? What do you think?
It's a tough one. So I set up my trades for next week, my option trades, and they're mostly bullish put spreads because I feel like we've bottomed in a lot of the tech. So like I feel like Wednesday we kind of saw, at least for the next few weeks, the bottom. So I sold a spread right at that level,
Okay.
the lows of Wednesday.
Yep.
But mostly I'm sticking to just condors, some range bound strategies, because I feel like we're gonna go up and then go down. So there's no direction.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to utilize this elevated volatility. I'm just trying to sell options to kind of take advantage of it.
The higher implied
Yeah.
volatility, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think at this point that temporary bottom's kind of been put in. I don't know if we'll ever come back and test it retest it in the near future, but certainly I think that's an area that's probably going to be a key support level now.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of people calling me. When it's interesting. Whenever market's going up, everyone thinks they're genius.
Yeah.
When market's going down, everyone calls you and it's like, "Hey, what's going on with my investment?" Things like that.
Yeah, well, I know.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly, it's, yeah, like you said, it's easy when everything's going up. You can get into any boat and it'll get floated, but when the markets go down, you really have to be a lot more selective about what you trade. Like I said, I've been in gold for a couple of weeks now, and it's turned out great. And it's been, but again, you've really got to be selective about where you're putting your money now. You can't just throw it into the market, throw it at any stock, and hope, watch it go up with everything else.
Yeah, those days are over.
Yeah, for the time being, for sure.
For the time being, yeah. Well, let's enjoy the weekend.
Yeah.
Monday, get back to it. It's going to be really interesting.
It's going to be interesting.
Definitely going to be interesting.
But-
I'm actually going to Argentina with Andrew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he called me. He's like, "Hey, can you come?" I'm like, "Sure, I don't mind the vacation."
Okay.
So
when are you heading?
Sunday at 1 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to come? You should come with us.
I've got enough trips planned.
All right. Yeah, we're going to World Cup together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did anything come for the World Cup? Any news or no? You're still in the lottery for it.
Still in the lottery for that
Still
one.
in the lottery?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything more about that. But I've got, probably got a trip to Egypt coming up here at the end of March, and then I'm going to Peru in May. So yeah, I'm going to be hitting the road again.
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. Amazing.
So, but the important thing is it's a weekend, and everybody, I hope they all have a great weekend, and We'll see you all Monday morning if you're going to join us at Bear Bull Trading Room, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
In the morning, we start the pre-market show.
Yeah, exactly. Sharp. All right. Have a good one, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
See you around, everybody.